I'm Kelly Hunt, and I'm going to be speaking about legalizing narcotics in America. My major claim is that legalizing narcotics will reduce government spending and increase government revenue. It will do this by legalized narcotics would reduce government spending on law enforcement and especially imprisonment, and then it will also create revenue by taxing the narcotics that would be then legal. As a bit of perspective, U.S. holds about 5% of the world's population, but of the world's population of prisoners, we hold about 25%. So we have a significantly high rate of imprisonment here, and it's about 48% of the prisoners in America are imprisoned because of drug offenses, and there's only been, well, one of the biggest countries that has a very liberal narcotics rule. It's a completely decriminalized narcotics is Portugal. It's one of the few in the Western world, and they have a significant drop in teen usage of hardcore narcotics, and they've doubled their treatment to narcotics by about, or more than doubled. They've multiplied it by 2.5 times. And then they're spending much less on law enforcement, not picking up people for doing things to themselves where they could be enforcing laws that affect other people rather than the individual. And by legalizing narcotics, we'll reduce the government spending on law enforcement and imprisonment. And the cost per prisoner, it varies by state, but it's about $20,000 to $60,000 a year, and that's just for one prisoner. So, and the average across America is about $30,000. So, if we could cut that in half, or the total is about $40 billion, and if we could cut that in half, that would be $20 billion government dollars saved, and that could go towards plenty of other things, and like especially education, I would say. But and then as far as drug control, rather than just the incarceration, it spends $25 billion. About $10 billion of that is going to treatment and prevention. So if by the Portugal numbers we multiply it by 2.5 times, that spending all the drug control money on treatment and prevention would be what we need. So that's pretty much a wash. All the law enforcement would just go to treatment, and then you don't have people like hiding away their drug usage so that nobody knows, and then suffering the consequences. We would have people getting help and getting away from drugs. And then so the treatment would be kind of a wash with the money. It's compared to the drug control, but then our major savings would be with the imprisonment. And then we would also be able to increase revenue and not just save money by having them legalized, because we could tax them. There would be sales tax, there would be excise taxes, and then there would be income taxes on the companies. And it's estimated by, some of the statistics I had on the prison were all by the Bureau of Prisons or the Bureau of Justice. And then the PBS estimates that the drug market is about $60 billion a year. And so that would be $60 billion that could have all of its taxes done on, rather than just being transferred from person to person and nobody really can track it. So in comparison to cigarettes, which are another legalized substance that is detrimental to your health, the main reason it's other substances are illegal, they are taxed on average about 30%, and it's from R.J. Reynolds. And so if we were to take that same tax and put it on the $60 billion in revenue that they have on illegal narcotics, that would be around $20 billion that the government has made. So we would save half the money in imprisonment, and then we would make about the same amount. So legalizing these narcotics would basically pay off all the money we need for our prisons, and any money we spend on law enforcement for it would go directly to treatment. So in the end, we would have less people in prison, more people in better health, and so I believe that legalizing narcotics will reduce the government spending and increase government revenue, as well as keeping some of the people happy. Thank you.
All right, Kelly, you ID the proposition, but it's got two parts to it, and those two parts turn out to be the same two secondary claims that you're presenting. You need a general term that covers those two ideas, and then make those two distinct supporting points and develop them individually in the body of the speech. Once you get to the body of the speech, though, you don't really distinguish those supporting points. Material starts running together. I mean, I can kind of see there is some separation on the costs that we're talking about that are related to imprisonment, and some issues about costs that are related to enforcement. But then you're talking about treatment issues, and then you're talking about taxation, and then you're making a comparison to cigarettes, and so it seems like you go in a whole bunch of different directions. And it's not that all those things don't necessarily support your argument. I think that they do, but they need to be expressed a little bit more coherently in the body of the speech. I think that your ideas are getting lost in the body of the speech because you're not following a structure there. I also think that your information is very generic in nature. The information on imprisonment, for instance, is cited, but we don't get a source on that. The information on the estimated costs, again, we get a piece of information about the $60 billion, but I'm not exactly sure who came up with the $60 billion estimate. When you do the tax idea at the end and you compare to cigarettes and you mentioned the 30%, well, now I understand where you get that 20% or that $20 billion figure, because it's based on just applying that to the $60 billion. That's, it's at least understandable how you get that number. The idea that that would in fact be the result, I think, is a little bit of a stretch. I didn't hear any proof about anything concerning Portugal. I'm not saying that it's not true, but I don't have any reason to believe that it's true, except that it's your say-so. So you should be citing some sources on that information. If they have managed to reduce their costs, reduce their problem, and manage things more effectively, there's got to be some research on that. You don't get that kind of change in policy without somebody writing about it, studying it, and trying to document it in a dozen different ways. And so there ought to be some citation of information on those points. All right, thank you.